All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. This video is going to primarily be physique updates at just days away from the 2022 Arnold Classic in Columbus, Ohio. Today was a big day as far as physique updates for this show, especially in men's open bodybuilding, but really across all categories. The first physique update I want to show you guys here was a little bit of a teaser clip from fan favorite going into this show, Brett Wilkin. And if that backdrop looks familiar, it's actually the same place that Nick Walker was posing right before last year's Arnold Classic, where Nick Walker ended up winning. And he's posing here for his coach, Matt Jansen, who was the same coach of Nick Walker last year. So a lot of people wanting to see Brett Wilkin do really well here and thinking Brett Wilkin is going to do very well here. Predictions I've seen as high as top 2 from guys like Phil Heath predicting Brett to be second. I've seen other guys predicting Brett to win the show. And to be completely honest, out of every guy in this year's Arnold Classic lineup, I have seen more hype for Brett Wilkin than any other bodybuilder in this lineup. I see it in the comment sections. I see it on my Instagram. I see it in my DMs. I see it in my tag comments. I see it in my feed. Brett Wilkin, I mean, this is a hell of a tribute to his fan base here because he has some really hardcore fans. And I've said many times that I feel like this show is going to be between Brandon Curry and William Bonac, but I don't think either of those two guys, I haven't seen a fraction of the conversation about them that I've seen about Brett. I mean, a lot of people really believe he's going to be the next big thing, and that starts with this show. And look, I do see the hype. I think Brett has an amazing physique. I think he looks really impressive. I think especially considering all the guys that have dropped out of this show, I think Brett is almost a shoo-in to be top 6. I see him maybe as high as 3rd or 4th. I think you're probably going to wind up seeing a battle between him and Steve Kuclo, who I'm going to talk about next. But honestly, I still have a hard time predicting him in second, and maybe it's because the only show he did was the Chicago Pro as a men's open bodybuilder where he took second. I'm just having a hard time, seeing the top 2 predictions or a win, even though I think he's got an incredible physique. I don't know. I can understand the hype train, but right now, I'm not quite on the he's going to win bandwagon. I'm still more kind of on the caboose of this thing, if that makes any sense at all of an analogy. But we're going to find out in just a couple days. Now, next up, an update from Steve Kuclo, a guy that I just talked about, a guy that I think is comparable to Brett Wilkin. They're both taller bodybuilders, just not crazy tall. They're just a little bit taller than the average bodybuilder. And to be honest, I think Steve and Brett's physiques are a lot more comparable than maybe Brett and Bonac or Brett and Brandon. So this is what I'm going to be looking for at the Arnold Classic, is hopefully to see a call out of Steve and Brett. Now, Steve says this picture was taken 2 days ago, so 5 days out from the actual show. We got him most muscular. He looks really good. His conditioning has looked on point in this and really all the updates that we've seen from him so far, and he looks pretty full. I mean, look how crazy. Steve has always had crazy delts. It's always been one of the most impressive points to me about his physique. I think he looks really full here. And like I said, I do think that's going to be a much more favorable or a much more comparable comparison, him and Brett, and that's what I want to see. We'll put up a side-by-side. They actually posted a still photo of Brett hitting him most muscular as well. But you guys can let me know your pick in the comment section below. If we do see a Steve versus Brett call-out, who do you think is going to place higher? Keep in mind, Steve was almost second last year. He wound up in 3rd place. In my predictions, I've got him in 4th place here. Now, another guy we just got an update from, and he says this is 2 days out, is Regan Grimes. Regan Grimes has been on a bit of a hot streak. Like I said, he's been on, he got 15th at the Olympia. He moved up from 15th to 2nd at the Legion Sports Festival. He moved from 2nd to winning the KO Pro Show in Egypt. He's building a pretty significant amount of momentum going into the show now that he's working with a new coach in Milo Sarshev. And I don't have him in my top 6 predictions. A lot of people have been wondering why. And I'm looking at this video, and I'm still kind of feeling not so confident about him being in the top 6. Now, he looks a lot fuller than he looked in some of the earlier updates that were a little bit more concerning to me, where he looked pretty flat. He was very depleted. He hadn't had any carbs. He was fasted in some of the updates that we had seen. The more recent ones, he does look fuller. And I think the problem that Regan has ran into in the past has been, getting outsized in these men's open lineups. And because of that, he needs to bring 110% with the conditioning. The conditioning needs to be the thing that makes him stand out, because it's not going to be size. So if the conditioning is off just a little bit, whether that was in the process of carbing up or filling out or being too depleted before the show or whatever the case may be, I think that can tremendously throw off Regan's physique, because he's not going to be a guy that can come in here, like you could see Big Ramy do. Big Ramy is so big that even when he comes in off, he was almost always a top placer. Before he was winning the Olympia, he was placing at the top or winning a lot of shows, even coming in off. But Regan really doesn't have the size to give him that wiggle room with conditioning. And seeing this posing update, like I said, I still have those concerns that he's going to come in a little bit off. I heard manager Matt, like I said, talking about on the Cutler cast, that a few weeks out, I think it was 7 weeks out, Regan was sick, and that threw off his prep. But I guess we'll see what happens. I mean, Regan does have a ton of momentum. He does seem like he's improved, but you can only put on so much size in such a short amount of time. And if size was the main issue for Regan, conditioning is going to be the thing he should really be focusing on for this show, in my opinion. So we're going to find out in a couple of days how this new coach in Milo Sarcev works out for him, and if that momentum means anything in this Arnold Classic lineup. Now, next up in the news, here's a guy not as many people are talking about. This is the rookie bodybuilder. This is his first pro show ever. He actually got to this Arnold Classic. He got the invite by winning last year's Arnold Classic Amateur. Fabio Giga, the Brazilian mass monster that's competing in this show. This is the most recent update we've seen from him as far as how he's looking from a conditioning standpoint. I think he's a little bit of a wild card because, again, we've got no idea how he looks against these pro guys because he's never done a pro show like this. So he could be as high as top 6 or he could be as low as last. In my opinion, from what I've seen so far without seeing him on stage next to these guys, I think he's got some improvements to make to be competitive in a lineup like this. I personally, and this is no offense to him, I personally kind of see him towards the bottom of these 9 competitors. By the way, the official competitor list just came out. I can show you guys right here. It looks a lot smaller than it did when that list first came out, so this is to include all the people that have dropped out. You got William Bonac, Max Charles, Brandon Curry, Samson Dowder, Regan Grimes, Steve Kuclo, Fabio Giga, and Justin Rodriguez, and of course Brett Wilkin. So 9 competitors. So there will only be 6 of those 9 in the top 6, meaning there are going to be 3 guys outside of that. Personally, that's kind of where I see Fabio landing. Now, next up, let's get into the classic physique updates because we got a lot of those today. The first being from Breon Ansley. And every update that we have from the classic physique guys as well confirmed to be from taken in Ohio. So likely taken this week, like right before the show. Breon honestly looking incredible here, showing off his conditioning, A, but B, showing off his back, working out his back here. And Breon's back is one of the things that I've been talking about during the entirety of the build-up to this show. I think it's going to be something that both Urs Kalecinski and Ramon Dino have a lot of trouble getting past. Breon has a really good back from both a size standpoint and a detail standpoint, and I just have a hard time believing that Urs and Ramon are going to be able to get past that. Maybe they will. Maybe one of them will be able to, but I think that's going to be one of the biggest barriers to entry for that top 2 for these newcomers. Breon, he's a seasoned veteran. He's got that detail. He's not a Mr. Olympia champion for no reason. I've been impressed by a lot of the updates from both Ramon and Urs. I think they both look like they've improved tremendously since we saw them on the Olympia stage. And honestly, I've just got a lot of respect for Breon. I really think that all the updates that he's posted that we've seen have looked more impressive than these other guys. I really think the battle here is going to be between Breon and Terrence. And again, that being said, I still think Terrence will win. But Breon, I think, is in second place, and I think that's solidified. I don't think he's placing any lower than second. Breon's the real deal, and even if I prefer Chris Bumstead to Breon, and even if I prefer Rough Diesel to Breon, he needs his props here. I mean, there's a reason he's as good as he is, and I have a hard time, like I said, thinking that any of these guys are going to play second besides Breon. That being said, let's go into the latest update from Ramon Dino. This one is, in fact, from Columbus, Ohio. This was filmed in that powerhouse gym. This one confirmed to be recent. The one yesterday, I didn't realize they changed the caption of that post. The original caption of the post said it was taken in Ohio. That was taken in Brazil about 3 weeks ago, that last update that we saw from Ramon Dino in the last video. This one, for sure, is confirmed, filmed in Ohio. This is the most recent update that we've seen of Ramon Dino. Granted, not as revealing as the ones that we saw yesterday. He looks very impressive here, and one thing that I noticed is he looks to me to be bigger than I remember seeing him on the Olympia stage or on that Expo Pro Super Show. He looks really full and really big, but still really lean in these pictures. Maybe that added size is going to be enough for him to get past Urs Kalecinski, but maybe not. Because next up, we've got some updates that we got to see from Urs, also taken in that same gym in Columbus, Ohio, so just days away from stepping on stage. Mostly sharing a glimpse of his lower body. You can see the condition, the striated glutes, the separation in the hamstrings. From the front, you can see the separation in the quads, the vascularity. He's obviously in shape. But I'm still looking at the arms, the back from a detail standpoint, not so much from a side standpoint. He's got from a size standpoint, rather. He's got a really large back. I mean, he's got a lot of width to it. But like I said, I think where guys like Breon catch him is the detail in the back. I think his chest, he needs to bring that up. I think his arms, the biceps specifically, I think he needs to bring those up if he wants to beat a guy like Breon or a guy like Terrence. However, you know, anything could happen here. I still think he looks phenomenal. He's got a phenomenal structure. He's obviously in great shape. And if one of these guys comes in off, maybe he does do enough to beat him. It doesn't look like Breon's going to be coming in off. And from what we've seen of Terrence, it doesn't look like he's going to be coming in off. But definitely, we've got a world-class classic physique competitor in Urs Kalecinski. But that's going to wrap it up for the video today, guys. Let me know your predictions in the comment section down below. Make sure you thumbs up the video. It helps out a lot, so make sure you like the video. If you did, in fact, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed yet already. As always, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out.